Hello, welcome to this video where we will discuss licenses, activations, and other related topics for Blue Open Studio. Okay, here's some basic information about the license activation. Here's just a basic link to the place where we activate the licenses for Blue Open Studio. So that's just going to be part of the presentation here. Okay, so we'll get into it a little bit more here on the next slide. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is the types of licenses that we have for Blue Open Studio. There's build time licenses and there's runtime licenses. Within the runtime licenses, you have runtime licenses for Proface IPCs, and then you have runtime licenses for third-party PCs. And that's just basically saying it's just defining where you're running the runtime. If you're running the runtime on a Proface IPC, that's one part number. And then if you're running the runtime on any other brand IPC, that's considered third party, and you require a third party runtime license. You also have the ability to upgrade your license, meaning it's effectively increasing your tags. So Blue Open Studio is a tag-based model, so you can increase the tags. So if you start with one level of tags, you can increase and go up. Okay. There's also version ups. So when we change major versions, that's a charged upgrade. So there's a license that's sold for the version up. And then there's also additional thin clients. Okay, and we'll get into a little bit more details on that a little bit as we carry on in the video here. Okay, so when we take a little bit of a deeper dive into the build times are for developing projects to run in a licensed runtime environment. Okay, in the build time only environment, after the 40-hour demo expires, you can use the runtime for 72 hours. So it's meaning if you have only a build time license, the runtime will run for 72 hours unlicensed, and then it can be stopped and restarted infinitely. Okay. The build time tag level can develop for its own tag level and below. Okay. So for example, the 500 tag build time can only develop for a 500 tag runtime. Okay. A 4K build time can develop for a 4K, a 1.5K, and a 500 tag runtime. Right. Okay. A little bit deeper dive into the runtimes. These are licenses for running projects. If you have if you're just using the runtime after the 40-hour demo expires, you can use the watch output and logwin functions. Basically the watch window, the output window, and logwin. And the remote management tool is still available to transfer projects, change licenses, etc. Okay. The runtimes always include one thin client connection for a browser or secure viewer. Okay. And do note that the local viewer does not use up a thin client license. So you can effectively have your local viewer, say a built-in screen on a PC, and then that does not consume that thin client license. Okay. And then it's the same thing, like the build time, the runtime tag level can run projects for its own tag level and below. When we look at the upgrade licenses, we have to upgrade build times, we upgrade run times. The way that you upgrade it is done in steps. So if you want, for example, to go from 1500 tag to 32,000 tag, that requires the 4K upgrade and the 32K upgrade to get to the 32K. Okay. There's also, the soft key and hard key options. Okay, so the soft key is basically tied to whatever unit you're licensing to. That soft key is tied to that unit's hardware. These are these are just some points about the two keys. It's more difficult to transfer, and then potentially it can be lost in case of a hardware failure. Okay. The hard key, on the other hand, is bound basically to the hard key. It's only bound to itself. It's not bound to any PC. It's easy to move, but of course, if it's lost or if it fails, it's basically worth nothing. It's gone. Okay. When we look at the version ups, there's no, you don't need to, it's not like the tags where you need to go in steps. If you want to go from version 8, say, to version 2023, that's still only considered one upgrade. It does not remove the license for the older version. You can have both installed if you want to do that. And then you do need to provide proof of the license for the older version to get the version up. Okay. The additional thin clients. Okay, so the additional thin clients are basically allowing for additional simultaneous thin client connections. Okay, so we can do, so if we never need more than one person at a time, that one built-in thin client license will do you fine. If you need multiple people to connect at the same time, then, or multiple thin clients to connect at the same time, that requires additional licenses. Okay, and there are different thin clients for the Windows runtimes and the HMI runtimes. Okay, and there's that, just the point again about the one thin client plus local viewer that you get with the runtime. Okay, and then the maximum thin clients is it's a lot. It's basically, till you hit your performance limit. Okay. um, you can't. Here's a slide showing the bundling of the runtime license with the PS6000. So basically what it is in the CTO, there is an option to just add the runtime license to the PC part number basically at that point. Okay. And then as far as like we touched on a little bit, there is with the software, there is an evaluation demo mode, right? So after you do a new install, you can use the build time in the runtime for 40 total hours. And then after that time, we kick into a demo mode, and where I can download, run projects, and use debugging tools, and then I can run projects 2 hours at a time in demo mode. Okay, here's just a slide showing you the actual part numbers. These are, of course, on the ProPhase website. Okay, here's some just basics. Here's some basic points about the installation and licensing of Blue Open Studio. The licenses for the build time and the runtime are only available as two distinct parts. At ProPhase, we don't have a combined part number for build time plus runtime. You can combine the licenses, but it's just done during the activation process. You still need to purchase both licenses. The build time license is independent of the runtime platform, meaning between SCADA Windows and HMI Linux, the build time doesn't matter. If you're doing 500 tag, if you have a 4,000 tag license, you can develop for either one. You just choose which target. Okay. If you exceed the tag count in the build time, you'll know it immediately. You'll get an immediate message, and you can see down here, we're showing you what that message looks like. Okay. And then just one thing to be aware of in the HMI Linux platform, in the IoT box, the runtime function is not supported in the platform. There's no real flag that you're going to get in the build time. It's just, for a lot of these things, they just won't work. So if something's not working in the HMI Linux, make a double check to make sure it's actually supported. Okay. And then the runtime tags, if the runtime tags are not enough for the target project, you won't know it until you basically go to start the project. Then it'll say, okay, I don't have a license to support the number of tags. Okay. Okay. So you'll see here, this is, for example, when if you're trying to send more tags than the license allows, in example, in this case, in the case of the EdgeBox, that's the kind of message that you're going to get. Okay. Okay, here's some installation points. One thing to know is that the installation of the software in most cases is the same whether you're licensing for the build time, the runtime, or both. You're basically using the same installer. There's only one installer. There's no installer for the build time and then an installer for the runtime. Okay. Just a couple of things. Just make sure the mobile access runtime is what you're going to need if you want to do any kind of remote access with via HTML. And then you'll note there's other installer options. Okay, and then really the only exception to having to install the full Blue Open Studio is in some cases on the runtime station you can or on the client, sorry, on the client station, you can just install the secure viewer thin client, but you're going to have some limitations. Like for example, the widgets won't show up in the secure viewer if you don't have the full installation, but you will be able to run the project with some limitations if you don't want to have to install the full uh, Blue Open Studio. That's really the only exception. Okay, here's a slide. Here's just a slide. Sorry, here's a slide with all the different part numbers. A couple of things to note. If you look here in version 2023, which should be coming within the next month, there will be, because we are going to add the, hold on, let me show you. Because we're going to add the 500 tag runtime for Windows, then we need a different upgrade. Get to it. Give me 1 second. We will need a upgrade for 500 tag to 1.5 tag, 1.5K tag. Okay. So look for those changes. Okay. Here's some more part numbers. Here's the runtimes again. Here's the thin client part numbers. You'll see thin clients for Windows, thin clients for embedded or Linux. And here are the import wizards. All the import wizards for Panel Builder, Factory Talk, and PanelMate have been bundled up into one license. And then here is the part number for the USB hard key. And again, remember the hard key itself is not licensed. It's just basically a media to obtain the license. Okay. All right, so the license ordering, delivery, and activations process looks like this. And there is a very good layout on the Proface website about activations. So this is kind of taking that information from there. All orders result in a unique serial number and activation key. It's digital, so it requires an email. The license is going to contain an activation key, a part number, and a serial number. Okay. You do need to install Blue Open Studio to generate the site code using the register application. Okay, and then make sure that you run the register application in the version of Blue Open Studio that you want the license to license. Okay, and then in the case of the hard key version will work for any version that is registered to and lower versions. All right. When you run the register application, and I'm going to show you a demo of that here in a minute. When you run the register application, you're going to select hard key or soft key. Okay, the soft key basically is using the selected network adapter that you're going to pick to generate the site code. Okay, because you're doing it like that, because the soft key is using a site code based on a network adapter, make sure that you use a permanent network adapter. A built-in Ethernet port is the best. Okay, don't use remote, dongles or the removable devices, because obviously if they're not there, then the license is not going to work. Okay, you go ahead and you generate the site code, and then via email you send in the site code plus the keys that you received in your email to a specific email, and then you're going to get your site key back to activate the software. Okay, and then if you do want to combine your runtime and build time and other licenses, just in the request, send the request, and then the activation process will take that into account and generate the site key that will have all of that built into it. Okay, and that's my next point. Okay, and then again, the hard key is the key only. All right, you still need the licenses. Okay, and then really what you're doing in the tool is you're just selecting a hard key versus a soft key. All right, and again, the hard key site code doesn't matter what PC you're doing it on. Okay, it's binding itself to the key. And like we made the point before, is that the hard key is good for activated versions and versions lower. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do a demo here, and here's just a little picture of what these certificates that you're going to get. They're going to come with, right? You'll see you've got an activation key. You're going to get a serial number. Okay, and you're going to see that. So let me go ahead. end it. And then what I'm going to do is here I'm in my computer where I'm going to activate my Blue Open Studio. So I'm going to go to Proface. This is version 2020. I'm going to go to Blue Open Studio. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Blue Open Studio 2020 register. And we're going to, in this case, we're going to be doing a soft key. I'm going to go ahead and check. And you'll see now I don't have any license here. So I'm going to go ahead and change my license. Okay, and now this is where I'm going to pick which adapter. Okay, I've already determined that this is the adapter that I want to use. This is Ethernet. It's an Ethernet. It's a built-in Ethernet port on my computer. And that's going to go ahead and generate this site code. I'm going to copy that site code, and then I'm going to go ahead and mail it to, like we discussed before, through the magic of all that. I am going to get my site key back that I've already pasted to the clipboard. Okay, there's the site key that I got back, and it has, and what I requested in the site key is I had a 32K runtime license, I had a 32K build time license, and I had a license for 3 thin clients. So I'm requesting that I want a build time plus runtime combined with 3 additional thin clients. And this, so what happened is that's what was built into this site key. So then I'm going to go ahead and say authorize. It's going to tell me that the site key was accepted. Okay. And now what you'll see is I'm going to come in here and it says the license is found. It says it's for Blue Open Studio Line Management Plus, which is the 32K, which is giving us the name. You'll see it has engineering and runtime, and then 3 thin clients. Okay, I can go ahead and close that, and now my license, or my software is licensed. Okay. Okay. So a couple last points. As far as the license ordering and delivery license ordering and delivering activations processes go, this is just a slide here talking about how we transfer a license to a new PC, right? So if we want to transfer a license from one PC to another PC, if we have that case, this is the procedure that we follow. And again, this is posted on the website today. Okay, you'll see that you're going to send the information to the activation center, the activation key, in the original PC site code, right, which gets changed after activation. The activation center will send a deactivation site key. Okay, we're going to send the information to the activation center. The activation key in the original PC site code, which will change after you activate it, the site code will change. Okay, and we're going to send that to the activation center. The center will send a deactivation key. We're going to go ahead and we're going to deactivate the original. And then what happens is you'll see this version, it will revert to version 1. We take a screenshot of that, send it to the activation center, and then they will basically send a deactivation code, and then you can reactivate on the new unit. Okay. Just a couple of points about the site code. So that the site code, again, the site code is generated by a combination of hardware and network interface selected. And then after activation, the components of the license, example, the number of tags, etc. That's what's all in, it's all baked into the site code. Okay. And then again, so if anything in the network interface is altered, the license is lost. Okay. And the hard key is basically the same. If the hard key fails, the hard key is the same, but the USB device's hardware is basically what's part of the code. Sorry. Okay. Just a couple of example scenarios. If we have an existing build time and want to add a runtime to the same PC, what we'll basically do is we just send in the information about the runtime purchase with the site code from the PC, and then they'll send back the combined license in the site key. And let's say I have an existing runtime and I want to add thin clients to it. We use the registered tool on the runtime machine to generate the site code and send that in with the license information. Okay. And then as far as tag upgrades go, there's no downgrade credit. You can purchase and use anytime, meaning later. It's not time bound, doesn't end. And then it's the same process for the soft key versus hard key. And then again, like we spoke about before, it's done in steps. Okay. Okay. And then just another note in the HMI Edge box, that does require the remote management tool, right? Because there's no built-in screen. So if you want to upgrade the license from say 500 tags to 4,000 tags, that's done with the remote management tool. Okay. Then if we're doing a version up plus tag upgrade, typically we do the version up and then we upgrade the tags. Okay. And then, like I said, as far as moving license, that can be a managed process. It's kind of done on a case by case basis. And then again, if the licenses or keys are lost, bad hardware, etc., your license potentially could be lost. It depends on the case. Okay. So that's all we have. Hopefully this was useful to help you understand the Blue Open Studio licenses and activations process. Thank you for watching.